breaking. Action News at 10 starts now.
Tonight, 4 children are in the hospital after a violent crash. They were in an SUV with 4 adult family members when a tire blew and it collided with a Mack truck. 2 of the children were actually thrown onto the road. The trooper said the SUV's tires were bald. Now they're trying to find out if the children were wearing seat belts. I'm Chris Eggert.
And I'm Cynthia Demas. The road is back open right now, but the crash shut down the northbound lanes just south of Orange Blossom Trail for about an hour tonight. Action News at 10's Josh Einiger joins us live at ORMC, where 2 of the kids were airlifted to. Josh?
And one of those kids, Cynthia, is a 9-year-old boy who remains in serious condition here at ORMC tonight. But according to troopers, all of the children involved in that crash on the turnpike are going to survive the accident. And they say those kids are very lucky is a huge understatement. Tonight, the screams of a child echoed over the wreckage. Difficult to hear even for veteran troopers like Danielle DiCarlo.
I've got 24 years in, and you still don't, you're not used to seeing small children in that much pain.
Investigators say 8 family members had been crammed into one car, this Ford Explorer, and at least 2 of its tires were completely bald. The family was heading to church earlier this evening when one of those tires blew out, sending the SUV screeching across traffic, bouncing off the right-hand guardrail, and back into the path of this truck. 2 children, 3 and 9 years old, were ejected from the car. Troopers now looking into whether they were legally restrained.
We've got to go back and look at the van and see whether they were restrained or whether they were not restrained. But they did come out the side window of the vehicle once it hit the guardrail.
And the driver in this case is identified as 38-year-old Beatrice Paul of Kissimmee. She is the mother of the children who are here at ORMC tonight, but she was taken to a different hospital for minor injuries, and she may be charged for everything from operating unsafe equipment to keeping her kids unrestrained. Reporting live outside ORMC tonight, Josh Einiger, Action News at 10.
A month-long investigation helped Palm Bay investigators arrest 3 suspects and confiscate an arsenal of weapons. Detectives found 9 firearms and 200 pills of Xanax, morphine, and oxycodone inside a home on Eldrin Boulevard. Neighbors had complained repeatedly about suspicious activity there. Investigators arrested Shannon Cack, Jessica Little, and Robert Thompson. Thompson is a convicted felon.
They live in one of Orlando's lowest crime neighborhoods, but residents of Delaney Park met tonight with top police brass to hear the city's new plan to keep them safe. The meeting was just a few blocks from the meeting location back in April, where a woman was murdered in her house by a transient passing through the neighborhood. Tonight, police urged homeowners to eliminate all temptations that could make them a target.
A window is being left open. A door is not being checked. And we need you to take the time to make sure that everything is secure.
And also remember to close your blinds. Now, last night, Orlando recorded its 38th homicide of the year. Police have announced a massive reorganization of the department in response to the crime wave.
Tonight, 2 football players were injured during a freshman game at Winter Springs High School. One was injured so badly he had to be flown to ORMC. Action News at 10's Leland Vittert joins us live at Winter Springs High School with more on how this happened. Leland?
Chris, before we get to the how it happened, first an update on the conditions of the players. The good news is they are both going to be okay. That man who was airlifted here from this field at Winter Springs High School, I'm told, had a very serious concussion, but he will be okay. The way it happened was there was an onside kick during the game. We have some video of one of the JV games being played out here. There was an onside kick and 2 kids collided helmet to helmet. We were told that both of them left the field under their own power, but soon one of the players from Lake Mary began having symptoms. He was throwing up, he was very nauseous, disoriented, went in and out of consciousness, and while he's okay and everybody here is thankful, it still leaves parents and students very scared.
It scares you to death. We were afraid for our cheerleaders to go on after that game. You know, we didn't want anything to happen to them.
He fell on the bench or whatever, and they told us that the helicopter was coming. We all had to rush over here, and that's when it started to get really bad. He was starting to get a real bad headache, and so it was hurting a lot, like right here in the front of his forehead.
And coaches have told me this is an unusual injury by the way it happened, that both kids actually hit their helmets, helmet to helmet, and it can cause an awful lot of damage. Again, the Winter Springs High School student was taken by ground to a local hospital. He's going to be just fine, and I'm told that this hour the young man from Lake Mary will also be okay. Live at Winter Springs High School, Leland Vittert, Action News at 10.
Police in Eustis say they now know the identities of 2 of the gunmen involved in a deadly home invasion just last weekend. Early Saturday, 4 armed suspects forced their way into a home on Gosh Avenue and shot 4 people inside. Police found 1 person dead at the scene. Another died on the way to the hospital. Police don't plan to release the suspects' names until they're caught. 1 person was hospitalized tonight after a crash sent a car slamming into an ambulance. Police say a Saturn was turning onto Lake Underhill Road near Cosmos Drive. The driver apparently didn't see a Mazda also turning onto the road. When those 2 cars collided, the Mazda was pushed into the other lane, where it then smashed right into an ambulance. The driver in that car was hospitalized.
The showers are moving out of Central Florida tonight, but there are more on the way. Chief Meteorologist Tom Terry is in Severe Weather Center 9 to tell us what we can expect. Tom?
We're kind of doing a little transition that we normally reserve for the start of fall or even sometime after the autumnal equinox, which is going to be coming up later this month. But we continue to see some almost fall-like weather conditions around the rest of the country, and that will transition to some changes for us. Right now, some light showers still showing up on the live early warning Doppler 9 HD. That was a steady band of light to moderate rain that has kind of whittled down to just a few showers out there east of town. This is the bigger perspective. You can see the showers and clouds are kind of lined up here across the southeast. Our water vapor loop shows a big storm system that's up here to the north. Lots of dry air that'll be rotating through, and we're actually going to get a series of kind of dry cold fronts, if you will. They're not going to bring much cold air, but they will bring some drier air. We'll tell you about when they're going to start to arrive, and will they be in time for the weekend, Chris?
Okay, thank you, Tom. When an Orlando woman drove to the Orlando International Airport, she did not expect to be attacked. JoJo Mail was waiting to turn onto Cimarron Boulevard from Lake Underhill yesterday when she said 2 men tried to carjack her. Her window was down when she says the men punched her in the face, pulled her out of the car, and began beating her.
They opened my door when my window was down, opened the door and snatched me out and beat me with a bat.
Now, Mail said she fought back long enough for traffic to build up and the men to run away. It happened so fast, she said, she didn't get a good look at the would-be carjackers.
Brevard County deputies want to find the gunman who robbed a man inside his own hotel room. The suspects broke into a room at the Best Western on King Street near Cocoa. They stole a man's wallet with $60 cash and 3 cell phones. Then they took off. Fortunately, no one was hurt. A Port Orange lawn maintenance man who killed 2 elderly people for drug money will spend the rest of his life in prison. Today, Philip Hurley was found guilty of murder after stabbing 3 elderly roommates. In July, he killed 86-year-old Joe Eads and 82-year-old Angela Kopek and left 91-year-old Ralph Olison with critical stab wounds. Hurley's attorney says the client was controlled by drugs.
He didn't go over there with the intent to kill or harm anyone or to rob anyone. Unfortunately, he was just a man struggling with a crack cocaine addiction.
The lone survivor, Ralph Olison, has been released from the hospital after spending more than a month in ICU.
An eyewitness in an Orlando murder trial is now coming under question. Jermaine Jennings and Mario White are accused of the shooting death of Jamarcus Williams. He was shot and killed on January 1st while his friend Rodriguez Doe begged for his life. Now, defense attorneys today said that Doe not only was involved in the crime, but he actually pulled the trigger. Prosecutors say Matthews was shot because he and Doe wouldn't help Jennings and White find their intended targets.
The Orlando area is one step closer to a new VA hospital tonight. Today, the U.S. House of Representatives passed an act that allocated $377 million to the center. It's expected to be built in the Lake Nona area near the future site of UCF's medical school and the Burnham Institute's research facility.
There's a $1,000 reward for information in a bold smash-and-grab burglary in Brevard County. Now, this is surveillance video from a Kangaroo convenience store on Emerson Drive in Palm Bay. You can see the intruder smash his way in, then trash the store and steal a cash register. Police say he did the same thing a month later, but this time a store manager knew that something was up.
I heard thump, thump, and crash of glass, and I saw him clearly standing right in that corner window.
Now, the thief still got away. Investigators say that though this video is poor quality, they hope that someone might still recognize it.
A pair of vicious dogs were captured by Orange County Animal Control after they bit 2 people today. The animal control officer had to use a net to catch them. The dogs got out of their backyard pen, apparently, on South Shore Drive, which neighbors said happens quite often. A neighbor who was bitten slashed both dogs with a knife to fend them off.
I was working in my yard and other people just doing everything, getting mail, and the dogs just come at them and they attack them. And just if they move, they'll come at you. And they've been doing it for a while.
The dog owners, Andrea Pressimone and Hector Lopez, face more than $1,000 in fines. The dogs will be tested for rabies.
2 down and 1 to go. The astronauts went for a second spacewalk today at the International Space Station. The men spent more than 7 hours trying to get the station's new solar panels ready for deployment. Now, for the second time in as many days, a bolt disappeared. Now, NASA officials believe this bolt, like the one lost yesterday, just floated off harmlessly into space. There is one more spacewalk planned for this mission.
Investigators found dogs and roosters bred for fighting. The charges the Lakeland farm owner is now facing, and what's going to happen to the animals.
And a levee failure around Lake Okeechobee could put tens of thousands of people in danger. What the Army Corps of Engineers now says it'll do to try and make the dike safer. Then how a fountain for kids to play in is actually making them sick.
You're watching Action News at 10 on TV 27, your Action News station.
Investigators busted a Lakeland farm owner who they say was raising animals for fighting. Detectives say Greg Barentine was breeding 150 roosters for cockfighting. He also had dozens of pit bulls, which were also used for fighting.
Around 150 roosters, some running free, others leashed to the ground, are scattered about this rural Polk County property. Detectives also found more than 30 pit bulls, a small fighting room, and an assortment of illegal paraphernalia.
They're metal spurs or knives or gaffs, they call them. They're actually bound to the rooster's legs so that when they get into the arena for fighting, when they land a blow, it's more of a fatal blow. It'll puncture 3 or 4 inches into the other bird, causing lung damage and heart damage and death.
Deputies arrested Louis Greg Barentine on a number of charges, including animal cruelty. Detectives said Barentine was breeding these dogs and roosters for fighting.
It's not a good thing. I mean, animals, they didn't ask to be brought into this, and they don't ask to do what they're being made to do. This is a man-made thing.
Detectives say they've been investigating this property for years and say that plucking this type of illegal operation out of a close-knit community is extremely difficult.
It's a very close-knit group of people that deal in this type of industry. They only talk to people that they know that are also involved. When they stage a fight or they have an auction, they only talk to those that do. We usually find out about it after the fact.
We're told that the roosters are being euthanized tonight. The Polk County Sheriff's Animal Control Unit will house the dogs until a custody hearing could be held with their owners.
The Orange County Health Department wants to determine if more children were sickened by a play fountain. Now, this one in Avalon Park is already tied to a parasitic infection in 5 toddlers. It was shut down. A health department inspection found there was no chlorine in the water there. Kara Fair's daughter didn't get sick off that one, but she says she's still troubled by the situation.
Yes, and if my daughter was one of them, I'd be very angry to get sick needlessly, you know, when they should be maintaining the fountain.
The management company for the subdivision tells Action News it's looking for a new pool operator. A sinkhole shut down a Broward County road, but this sinkhole wasn't from natural causes. A drilling operation actually caused the sinkhole to open up on University Drive in Miramar. Crews were drilling for a Walgreens that's under construction. The road will be closed for a day or two now while the repairs are made.
The state says Orange County is finally in compliance with its plan to improve 2 failing high schools. Orange County's been wrangling with the state for weeks over its plan to turn around F-rated Jones and Evans high schools. But today, State Education Commissioner John Wynn said that he's confident the latest plan will make it past the board. Today, he lifted a ban that prevented Orange County from applying for millions of dollars in grants.
It was very important to the teachers and the principals that they could look forward.
Once the plan gets final approval, the district also expects the state to release $17,000 in funds that were withheld from the district this month.
It's been 2 years, but about 135 residents may not have to move out of FEMA trailers in Punta Gorda despite a looming deadline. Charlotte County is considering taking over the trailer park and running it like a public housing project. FEMA said it would be willing to donate the trailers if the county took it over. If the county doesn't take over the park, the residents who were left homeless by Hurricane Charlie would have to move out by September 26. The Army Corps of Engineers agreed today to dramatically redesign its plans to repair the leaking dike around Lake Okeechobee. According to a report by a panel of engineers, the levee has eroded from age and hurricanes and is in imminent danger of failing in another hurricane. That would be about 40,000 people in danger. South Florida water management officials said details like how much the new efforts will cost and when construction could be started will be worked out in the next several weeks. And of course, that became a big focus after the levees in New Orleans broke. So.
And, you know, thankfully, the best case scenario is that we haven't really had any tropical activity to note here so far in Florida this year. And I guess we can say so far so good.
Yeah, don't jinx us. Knock on Formica. Chief Meteorologist Tom Terry's knocking on his Formica over there in Severe Weather Center 9.
Yeah,
it's been I'm not going to say it. Just Tom, take it away.
There's wood around here somewhere, and we're knocking on it. Right now, we are looking at a very busy tropical Atlantic, but it's all way out in the open Atlantic, the hurricane playground, I call it. As long as they go around everybody, they can stay out there all day long. Right now, we're looking at some high waves still along the coast, but for the most part, it has been, as you said, a very quiet season. Only 2 tropical storms have hit the state, Alberto and Ernesto. Right now, there's a live shot, fairly quiet. Still some light drizzle, though, in downtown Orlando, and we've begun to quiet things down, although we have some low clouds. And sometimes the showers can actually only be falling from a cloud base of about 1,000 feet or so, relatively low to the ground. It's sometimes kind of hard to pick that up on radar, but these are very light showers here that are extending out the 520 and working out toward I-95. You'll get a little dose of sprinkle activity, and that's about it for you tonight. Tomorrow we start to refire things. Let me show you the main weather computer. Temperatures in the 70s area-wide, 72, very nice in Ocala, downtown Orlando. We'll start out with some clouds in the morning and develop some showers in the afternoon. Daytime highs only in the mid-80s tomorrow. I think the clouds will thicken up fairly quickly and keep us out of the upper 80s to near 90, which is our general normal pattern for this time of the year. You can see the showers have been kind of moving in tonight. A lot of clouds left over, more showers to the north, and our storm system still gathering some speed back here to the west. This is our upper level moisture or lack thereof. This is all dry air at about 15,000 feet or so. That kind of gives us a good feel for where the upper level storms are that are kind of steering all the weather. And basically we have moisture that's kind of crowding itself over the state of Florida. And for tomorrow, pretty good chance for some showers, about 70% rain chance. This red broken line on here indicates what used to be a cold front, now just kind of a weakness in the atmosphere. We call it a trough of low pressure. And it's going to swing through, kind of fizzle out over the weekend. But we're going to get a series of kind of little dry surges of air coming in, especially by Sunday and into Monday of next week. So I think overall, we're going to be changing the pattern around from this daytime variety thunderstorm activity to very few and far between showers, especially over the weekend. Isolated showers still left over Friday, but by the weekend, mostly rain-free. And perhaps you're heading out to the coast over the weekend. Rough surf still expected here. Although the wave heights have gone down, they've broken several holes in the sandbars. So we're going to get lots of water rushing offshore, especially as we get into low tide and the water starts retreating. That will cause quite a few rip current advisories to be in effect over the weekend. Now, the rainfall for tomorrow showing likely rain in the afternoon. That's when that little weak front or weak trough starts to move on down. We will see only a slight chance for rain, though, Friday. Saturday, more sunshine. It's not going to be much cooler, though, but it will be a little bit clearer. And this is Gordon, I think, on the verge of becoming a Category 3 hurricane. Very well-defined center there. And still watching Tropical Depression number 8, still trying to become a Tropical Storm Helene, way off the coast of Africa. A lot of activity out there, guys, but just nothing close to us. And that's the way we like it. Here's your outlook for tomorrow. 86, mostly cloudy, good chance for rain. Next 5 days, rain chances staying high tomorrow, a little bit on Friday, and gradually drier as we head toward the end of the weekend. We'll see you again tonight at 11 on Channel 9.
Okay, thank you, Tom, and we are certainly glad that the tropics are free and clear. NASA's newest arrival at the planet Mars is now where it belongs. It took a half year for engineers to maneuver the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter into an orbit where it can properly study the planet. Now, there are some challenges that lie ahead. Later this month, the orbiter will deploy a 33-foot antenna to remove a lens cap. If all goes according to the plan, the spacecraft will spend the next 4 years studying the planet and looking for potential landing sites for the first human trip to Mars.
A woman disappeared from a Carnival cruise ship, but now there are other things that are missing. The strange new twist in this case.
And why bigger doesn't necessarily mean better for the University of Central Florida.
You're watching Action News at 10 on TV 27, your Action News station.
An Orlando police officer is in the hospital right now after crashing her motorcycle. Police say the officer crashed on Arlington and Paramore around 9 tonight while swerving to avoid hitting a dog. She was apparently assisting in the search for a robbery suspect at the time. We're told she's being treated at ORMC for minor road rash, and she's expected to be okay. Her name has not yet been released.
The University of Central Florida is doing a little damage control after a not-so-stellar report card. UCF has grown into the nation's 7th largest school, but it is ranked as a 4th-tier university by U.S. News & World Report. School leaders blame processing problems and past hurricanes for some of the university's issues. And students we talked to say that rapid growth, could really explain this rank.
I guess the numbers don't lie, but it's all up to the student.
With the parking problem alone, I think we can all feel that the school got too big too fast.
UCF has never been ranked higher than the 3rd tier.
There's a strange new twist in the case of an Ohio woman who disappeared from a Carnival cruise ship. Police have now discovered items missing from her apartment. Tammy Grogan was reported missing Monday when Carnival's Imagination docked in Miami. When officers searched her apartment, they found that her computer, jewelry, and some credit cards were also gone. But there were no signs of any forced entry. The FBI said they don't suspect foul play.
A bear was spotted tonight in Longwood.
How often they've been sighted in Seminole County, and the most popular time of year, the animals come out. Then some Metro West residents are fed up with crime in their apartment complex, what they're already doing to try and get a little extra security, and how police plan to help.
This is it.
Tenants in one Metro West apartment complex are demanding better security. A petition is going around the Marina Landing apartments after 2 women were robbed of their purses at gunpoint. Tenants say a murder in the complex last February and a rape in May, along with the latest incident, are more than they can take.
And everybody's very uneasy, just the same. Everybody has this fear. Everybody's watching their backs, which is good. You have to protect yourself, but we just want to get security stepped up here.
Now, Orlando police say a special tactical squad will start in the Metro West area. An additional 10 officers are going to be on the lookout there for suspicious activity.
Bear sightings are on the rise again in Seminole County. In fact, one was spotted tonight on Ibis Boulevard in Longwood. New numbers show that bear sightings in the county were up in August. 38 bear sightings were reported to Fish and Wildlife last month compared to 22 in July. Now, the county's peak of bear sightings so far this year was January, when 52 bear sightings were reported. This is video from February in the Sweetwater Oaks subdivision.
A South Florida man is lucky to be alive tonight. What rescuers had to do to save a construction worker who fell into an empty water tank.
And why UCF coach George O'Leary thinks it is crucial to have in-state rivalries.
It took a risky rescue to save a Florida construction worker when he fell 20 feet. Dave Williams was working at a Broward County wastewater treatment plant in Pompano Beach, and he was on a ladder inside of an empty water tank when he fell all the way down and hit the concrete floor. Williams was hoisted out in a basket. You can see one of the rescue workers had to ride on the crane with him there. Tonight, he's in the hospital, but he's expected to be okay.
This is the Action News at 10. Holler Sports Minute.
When UCF and USF face off Saturday in the Citrus Bowl, it will be the first time in Golden Knights history they will play in-state schools back-to-back in the same season. The Knights looking for their first ever win over a Division 1A school from the Sunshine State when they face the 2-0 Bulls. Coach George O'Leary thinks it's important for his program to play these in-state games.
I think if you beat teams in Florida, you're saying something for your program and you're saying something nationally. That's how I look at that, and I think you can only get better playing speed teams. I've always been a big believer in that.
NASCAR goes north of the border, announcing it has purchased CASCAR, the Canadian Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, and formed a new racing series called the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series. Canadian Tire signing on as a multi-year sponsor. Racing will start in May 2007 with a 10 to 12 race schedule running through October. It will use drivers and teams from the current CASCAR series. I'm Jenny Dunn with your Action News at 10 Sports Minute.
CASCAR.
CASCAR, is that for real?
I never heard of it.
Whatever.
What do I know?
Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow night at 10 right here on WRDQ TV 27.
Until then, be sure to get all of your news from overnight and your weather and traffic together starting at 5 in the morning on Daybreak on Channel 9. Any additional CASCAR news we get, we'll pass your way.
The Insider's up next, followed by South Park. Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
At Class